Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of our Crypto Daily Show. I'm Rosemarie Miller, and today we're going to discuss all things crypto, from the news to the markets and so much more. On to the markets, which can be found at Forbes Digital Assets. It shows the currency, the token's impact score, the price, and its 24-hour change. The crypto market cap is a little over the $1 trillion mark, which is down roughly 3% over the last day. Bitcoin is just under the $22,000 mark, which is down a little over 3% for the day, and Ethereum is currently around $1,500 and is down roughly 4% over the last 24 hours. Now for our leaders, we have Uniswap at $7.33, up almost 5%, as it's one of the leading DeFi platforms, ranking number 3 by market cap, just behind DAI and Avalanche. Quantum at $3.55, up roughly 4% for the day, and Nexo is at 71 cents, up a little over 2%. For our laggards, we have Cosmo at $9.33, down nearly 8%, Decentraland at 91 cents, down almost 7% on a daily scale, and Engine at 55 cents, down almost 6%. Sam Bankman-Fried, who is the CEO of the FTX Crypto Exchange, is still using his bottomless wallet to bail out the crypto industry. Late last week, FTX and Alameda Research proposed a plan to allow customers of the now bankrupt crypto company, Voyager Digital, to receive an advance on their bankruptcy claims. The plan offers to allow them to buy more digital assets on FTX or withdraw it as cash. Bankman-Fried said in a Twitter thread, "Our offer would give Voyager customers back 100% of their remaining assets that Voyager has, including claims on anything recovered in the future." Bankman-Fried continues to say the funds would otherwise be locked up for a significant time as the case navigates through bankruptcy court and potentially be drained by lawyers and consultants. Voyager responded to the offer in a Sunday court filing, calling it a lowball bid dressed up as a white knight rescue that would give the crypto billionaires' businesses an upper hand. FTX is also looking to buy South Korean crypto exchange Bithumb, according to a Bloomberg report citing an anonymous person with knowledge of the matter who said the talks had been underway for a few months. In recent months, FTX reached a deal to acquire crypto lender BlockFi and earlier bought Bitvo and Embed Financial. Bankman-Fried is betting that the recent crypto crash is merely another dip. In other news, the Texas GOP platform calls for the state's Bill of Rights to include a clause allowing citizens to own, hold, and use whatever medium of exchange they choose, including digital currency. Texas Republicans would like to see this clause added to the state's Bill of Rights. The right of the people to own, hold, and use a mutually agreed upon medium of exchange, including cash, coin, bullion, digital currency, or scrip, when trading and contracting for goods and services, shall not be infringed. The clause continues, no government shall prohibit or encumber the ownership of or holding of any form or amount of money or other currency. The clause also states explicit protections for the natural right of Texans to keep and exchange and store their wealth in the mediums of exchange of their choice. Republican officials in Texas have been eager to ensure Texas remains the cryptocurrency hub, despite its Bitcoin mining continuously straining the power grid. Around $1.1 million worth of Audius's audio tokens were stolen over the weekend using a sophisticated attack involving the project's governance forums. Audius is a tokenized music streaming project that relies on community voting and governance for making future decisions. But on July 23rd, a malicious proposal saw attackers put up a fake post and manipulate the token votes to steal funds. Here's a look at our week ahead. At some point this week, we might get more details of exactly when and what price Tesla sold almost $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. Second quarter earnings season continues. This week, big tech giants including Microsoft, Google's Alphabet, Facebook's Meta, Amazon, and Apple top the agenda. On Wednesday, the U.S. Federal Reserve will make its July interest rate decision. The market is braced for the Fed to go bigger and longer in its battle to fight inflation as it accelerates the reduction of its $8.9 trillion balance sheet. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Jason Brink, the president of blockchain at Gala Games, and he told us a little bit about the future of blockchain gaming.
I interviewed Jason, a few months ago when I was still
That's a while ago now.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. When I was still at Columbia, and every journalist, major fear, I was not recording an hour-long, amazing interview.
It was a good interview. It was really good.
Interview, yes.
It was very good.
Yes.
You guys are never going to hear it. It's very tragic. It's very tragic. We finished it, and she's like, okay, that wasn't recording. It was really sad. It was really sad because it was good because we went in depth. It was like the philanthropy behind it and the reasons and everything, and missed all of it.
Missed all of it. We went all into your childhood.
We did.
Yeah.
It was a very personal interview.
Yeah. Well, this time we're recording, and so thank you for joining. It's a pleasure to just speak with you again.
My pleasure. Happy to be here with you.
Yeah. So, Jason, I'm sure you've seen the news about Minecraft's developer Mojang banning NFTs from their gaming. So what does this mean for the blockchain gaming space?
What does that specific decision mean? I don't think that specific decision by that specific developer really means a whole lot to the space in general. I think that right now what you're seeing is gaming as a whole is being divided into two camps. There's those who are okay with the idea of player ownership and those who aren't. And in that particular case, they felt that it was a risk that they did not want to take, and so they made the decision to keep it off of their game and off of their platform. You see similar decisions being made by companies such as Steam, which has said that no NFT games will be allowed on their platform. And that can be contrasted to the decision made by Epic, which says that they're going to allow their hundreds of millions of users to have access to NFT gaming, which is one of the reasons why we're working so closely with Epic at Gala Games.
So do you think it's a mistake for these companies to ban NFTs?
I think that blockchain as a important layer of player ownership in gaming is going to continue to grow and to continue to become more and more relevant. I do think that they're turning their back on the future to a certain extent, and I think that in the long term that will be something that they regret to a certain extent.
So how can you be so sure that blockchain gaming is the future?
For me, it boils down to player ownership. Players want to own their own things in game, and they want to be able to trade them and move them, and they want to be able to have the control over these items themselves. The only way that that can be done right now is through blockchain technology. And so for me, I see this as being an absolutely important part of the future of gaming, specifically when it comes into concepts like, play and earn gaming and things like that. Gaming should be gaming first, but gaming also has the ability to be so much more. And I think that that's something that's very important.
And so how do you feel that Mojang, am I saying this right? Mojang, right?
I believe so.
Okay. How do you think they're going to go about enforcing this policy of no NFTs and blockchain? I'm kind of lost in it. I'm sorry. How do you...
Well, I mean, it really depends on what they want to do. I mean, they can fairly easily block it out of their own builds that they push. There's always going to be people who find ways to sort of skirt the rules. There's all sorts of Minecraft clones that exist out there that people will probably build, blockchain-based components for and things like that. But in terms of keeping it out of their own game, that's not super difficult.
It's not. Okay. So where do you see the future going with, where do you see us going with the future of blockchain gaming? How do you think gamers are going to shift from games like Minecraft and what is the other one that everyone's playing, like Grand Theft Auto? Do they have NFTs in their game?
No, they don't. They don't, but they could and they should. We'd be happy to help them with that if they want.
These are major games that have been around since I was young. Why would people switch over from that?
So one of the things that I've observed, okay, and I say this as somebody who's been a gamer for my entire life on my own anyway, once you start playing games where you actually have ownership, the idea that you would go back and play another game seems a little bit preposterous. You still do it. Like, I still spend time playing, normal, quote unquote, vanilla games and things like that. But for me, there's always that, oh, this is a really cool thing. I made this really cool base. I just spent the whole weekend making this amazing thing. It'd be really cool if I actually owned that instead of it just being on someone's server somewhere. So right now, the shift is from Web 2 gaming, okay, which is what you're talking about. That's the normal sort of centralized gaming, to Web 3 gaming, which is a more decentralized, player-driven ownership model. That transition takes place over a period of time when people begin to realize that they can actually have access and own and share their own invention and ingenuity in a game with one another. Okay, it's similar to I think the way that this will unfold will be similar to social gaming. Okay, where people will start to create and share with one another, and that will gradually bring people in. Right now, the onboarding ramp for Web3 gaming is brutally high friction. But as we work to smooth some of these things out, for example, with Gala, we recently partnered with Epic Games to bring one of our games to the Epic platform. Now, this will give 194 million users on Epic the ability to use single sign-on to sign into our platform as well. So they'll be able to come and just single click in to log into Gala Games to begin playing our games. Now, this reduces that friction and makes it so that people who have been playing Web 2 games can more easily enter the Web 3 world. In the long term, games should just be games. There should not be this distinction. It should just be obvious that you own things in games. And I think that's where we'll get eventually.
So Epic Games, could you name some popular games by them?
Oh my God, Epic has done so many things. Epic is behind Fortnite. Epic is behind so many Web 2 games right now.
This is where I'm going with this. So if it's behind
Yeah.
these games and y'all are kind of have a partnership now, if you buy NFTs for one game, will you be able to use those same NFTs in another game?
So this is one of the big things that. Can I say an unpopular thing here?
Yeah.
I'm gonna piss off some Web3 people here. Um, this is something that people in the blockchain world talk about a lot, but in reality isn't super realistic in most cases. There's this concept of this decentralized world where you'll be able to have NFTs from one game and automatically go use them in another game. That's not really how games work. So just imagine for a moment that you have a sword in a game like World of Warcraft, okay? And it is a, sword of, +2 fire damage or something like that, right? And you've been using that in World of Warcraft for a long time, and then you want to take that over to some other game. Okay, the lore and the damage and all of these things may not carry over one to one, so it gets very confusing. So if you're going to play, Neverwinter Nights or Skyrim or something like that, that sword will not necessarily be something that is usable in both, and it would require that the developers intentionally say, this NFT that exists over here, we want to use that on our platform, which most developers are not going to take the time to do because there's no incentive for them to do so. The one caveat to that is that it can be used as a very effective means of user acquisition. So one of the things that we've been talking about doing, for example, is we have a game called Townstar. It's a farming simulation game. It's created by the same guy that made Farmville. We could, for example, take CryptoKitties, okay, which I don't know whether or not you know about it, but it's one of the first generative blockchain projects on Ethereum. Okay, we could take CryptoKitties and say that everybody who has a CryptoKitty can put that CryptoKitty inside of Townstar. Now, what that does is that allows us to reach out to all of these people who hold these NFTs and say, please come bring them, play here. You can have a farm and you can have your cat walk around, and how cool would that be, right? Now, something like that as a means of user acquisition makes sense. But just moving every single NFT back and forth and making it interoperable across games probably isn't going to happen.
So I guess this kind of makes me think about where Mojang is kind of going with this. If you're not
Mm-hmm.
really able to move your NFTs, like what's the point? Why shouldn't I just buy my skin in the game?
Well, you could buy your skin, but what if you don't want to play the game anymore? Or what if you want to send your skin to a friend who really wants to play it?
Oh.
Now, in normal gaming, you can't do that, okay? Because it's you've bought the skin. Now, from the game developer's perspective, to allow people to send things back and forth directly attacks their bottom line. Like, you bought that thing. If your friend wants it, they have to go buy it too. Okay, and so what you end up with is you end up with these terrible situations where somebody, for example, has been a very early supporter of a game. They bought a whole bunch of skins. They have a bunch of like generation 1 rare things that only a few people bought, right? They have, what was that?
How much would these things be? Generation one rare items.
Oh, they can be very rare. Like in some of these games like Fortnite and things like that, they can be, quite expensive, but there's no way to sell them. So what they end up doing is they end up selling the account, which is a terms of service violation. And if they find out that you've sold the account, then, you lose it. But the even bigger risk is that you sell the account to somebody. Okay, now imagine you're on the other side and you buy an account. Now, if you bought that account, the initial person who created the account could then just go submit an appeal to the company and say, my account was stolen. And they just get their account back, and then they turn around and they sell it again. And this sort of thing happens all the time. If you have NFTs, though, you have the ability to send that skin to somebody else. And whether you sell it or not is an entirely separate discussion. But you have the freedom to do what you want with the things that you paid for. You bought it, it's yours. And that's the way that we feel about this.
All right. Thank you so much, Jason, for agreeing to do this interview. You guys, this has been
Pleasure,
Jason
Rosemary.
Brink. He is the president of blockchain. And what is the cool name for president of blockchain?
Barbarian, Path of the Berserker.
Yes, he's the barbarian. All right. Thank you for agreeing to do this. And we will talk soon.
Thank you, Rosemary.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Forbes Crypto. And be sure to send me any tips at Rosemary TV. Peace.